Hello, everybody. It's time for the Quintel Kickoff Show in our Centier Bank Studios. Thank you for making us a part of your Friday night. I'm Jack Thiel. Beside me, Mike DeWan. We got Zach Snelly producing today's show. Semi-state championship matchups begin tonight. Of course, we are 1 week away from Lucas Oil Stadium for those state finals, and we're going to have you covered with some of the best coverage that you could ask for. Now, we do have 2 game night built by Von Tobels, which you'll be able to listen to on our Facebook and YouTube page. Once again, only listening. This is going to be an audio broadcast, but it's going to be for free. It's going to be Westfield at Crown Point, which has a 7 p.m. kickoff. 6:30 will be live from the Dog Pound. And then Maryville at Fort Wayne Snyder. That has a 6:30 kickoff. We'll be live at about 6:10 from Spuyler Stadium. But other than that, we have a bunch of games that we're going to keep you covered on our hometown scoreboard, courtesy of our friends from Strack and Van Til. And here's all those games that you can view on that Strack and Van Til hometown scoreboard. Westfield at Crown Point, and then Center Grove and Ben Davis. Those are 6A semi-state matchups. So as we go down the list, we're going to be in order in terms of class. So we'll go from 6A all the way down to 1A. Now we move to Class 5A, our second game night built by Von Tobel, Maryville, Fort Wayne Snyder. Then you have Bloomington South and Decatur Central. Now we move into 4A. It's going to be East Central and New Palestine. And then they'll face the winner of Northwood and Leo. We now move to 3A, Gibson Southern Tigers, or Titans, I should say, against the Heritage Hills Patriots. And then this is a doozy. The Knox Redskins and Bishop Satar Trojans out of Indy, both 13-0 going into that matchup. Of course, Russ Radke, a region legend coaching the Knox Redskins, has a chance to make his way back to Lucas Oil Stadium. You go back to the Class 2A. Now it's going to be Lafayette Central against Fort Wayne Bishop Lures. And then you have, this is a Saturday matchup for the Class 2A. It's going to be Southmont Mounties and the North Posey Vikings. This matchup will be taking place on Friday. It's Class 1A. It's going to be Indy Lutheran Saints and Sheridan Blackhawks. And they'll face the winner of the North Judson Blue Jays and the Adams Central Flying Jets. Now you can keep track of all those scores on our hometown scoreboard, courtesy of our friends from Strack and Van Til. The man who is best in the biz, Skibbs, will be handling all those up-to-date scores as soon as he can. But reminder, we have 2 game nights built by Von Tobel, Westfield Crown Point, and Fort Wayne Snyder Maryville. Those are free, and you can only listen to them, though. But they're going to be available on our Facebook and our YouTube page. Before we talk about our 2 game night built by Von Tobel, which is our featuring 2 of our only region teams left, you know, Mike, I want to ask you, because this is a very big part of the season, obviously. You're one win away. You're 1 win away from state, and I know, you know, coaches and players like to say we're going to approach this like it's a regular game, but it's not a regular game because you're 1 win away from state after all the hard work you have endured over the year. I know you want to keep, you know, things low, and, you know, the excitement, the emotion, you kind of want to, you know, contain it a little bit just because it is exciting, you know, especially for a team like Crown Point. We keep talking about, you know, hosting their first semi-state game ever at the Dog Pound. But at the end of the day, that excitement, that emotion is going to come out of you because of how big of a game this is. But as a player, as you were, you know, back in your high school days, you know, how do you make sure to stay in the moment and not get ahead of yourselves thinking what could be next week?
Yeah, you got to realize it's kind of just a game, of course. You know, it's a lot bigger than any typical football game, but you're playing a game, you're having fun, you're doing something you probably did for your whole life, and you just got to go out there and leave it all on the line, especially, again, we talk about those senior leaders. Those are the guys you're really doing it for. This could be their last game, maybe of their football career if they're not playing at the next level, and it's just there's a lot on the line, yeah, but I mean, again, you're playing something that you're so familiar with, and it's just something you've worked all season for, and there's no chance to show it out there than you can tonight. And again, you know what lies ahead, of course, Lucas Oil and all the festivities about that. You don't want to look too far ahead. You got to keep level-headed, and you just got to worry about the team in front of you. So I think what I've kind of talked about, again, the senior leaders a little bit, guys that are maybe familiar with these positions. Now when you get to semi-state, you know, there's only so many teams that make it every year. And Crown Point, again, this is their first semi-state game and since 1988 and their first home game. So a lot of guys that aren't really familiar with you know, what it takes to get, you know, and play such a high-stakes game. So, and then Maryville, again, they've had their semi-state runs, you know, pretty recent, but nothing in the state level yet. And I think it just relies on the coaches at this rate. Instead of looking at those senior leaders who are familiar, now you got to look at the coaches. And, you know, Buzia and Cease are the best in the biz, I'd say. And they're going to keep those guys level-headed, and their reason they're here right now, and I know they're going to make the region proud tonight.
Other than our game nights built by Von Toll, which we'll be covering, what other games are you looking forward to in this semi-state slate?
Yeah, that Knox one is very interesting, of course.
It's
13-0. Russ Radke, he just does it again. And, 13-0, we know about Chittard and what a threat they have in that class. New Palestine was a fun team to watch. Unfortunately, it was against, our region, Hobart Brickies. We were watching that here, but they're a very tough team, and, we're expecting – we wouldn't maybe classify them as a region team, but they're very, very close. And of course, we're going to root for them. Again, proximity-wise, they're a very solid team. Center Grove and Ben Davis, a fantastic 6A matchup.
I think that's the number one matchup tonight with a lot of people.
Winner of the Crown
Big
Point,
dogs going
the
at
Crown
it.
Point Westfield game. They'll go on to meet them at Lucas Oil, and those guys, man, Center Grove and Ben Davis, they're usually finding themselves in Lucas Oil one way or another. Those are two titans down there in Indy, and they always have some next-level players that...
Two top 5 Indiana teams.
Yeah, we could probably do some more research on, but a lot of guys that are going to be playing on Saturday and Sunday. But looking else, Southmont, 8 wins. They only have 8 wins up to this point.
Yeah, we looked at it.
That's kind
they
of a...
were
That's kind of a
4-5.
That's awesome,
going into playoffs. They've won 2 of their playoff games in overtime.
That's talking about heating up at the right time, and we're always looking for those teams that maybe don't have the double-digit wins right now, but they're doing well at the right time. You're 4-5 at the end of week 9. You're kind of banking on it, maybe not making the sectional championship, and now here you are in the semi-state, a chance to go to Lucas Oil, and that's a fun one. Yeah, I think that's from what I see. Yeah, it's. A lot of great games, a lot of great teams. Fantastic players, fantastic coaches, and
this is the best of the best right now.
Let's do it, man. New Palestine too, East Central. New Palestine's always a team. They're again, that's why they're here. A lot of these teams familiar territory. This isn't their first rodeo, and some of these teams like Crown Point, as good as they are this year, you kind of look for those teams that are sparking up at the right time and playing good football. And of course, we talked about. What I already forgot the name. Southmont again. Teams, you have teams that are undefeated and teams that have 8 wins, and it's the beauty of the playoffs. And we'll see who makes the trip to Lucas Oil, man. Yeah,
it's going to be a fun one. We'll talk about one team that could make a trip to Lucas Oil Stadium after the break here on the Quintel Kickoff Show and our RSN Bank Studios. You're watching us on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Update your kitchen or bathroom with Von Tobel. Get 20% off select cabinets now through October 28th. Von Tobel has cabinets and vanities in a range of styles and colors, plus built-in storage, countertops, and flooring. Our designers will help you find the perfect selections for your style and budget. Scan to visit VonTobels.com today to book your free consultation at one of our 4 Indiana showrooms. Von Tobel, building better together.
Quintel Incorporated is a family-owned and operated company located in Northwest Indiana that specializes in the reconditioning, repair, and remanufacturing of heat exchangers. Since 1994, Quintel has been handling jobs of all sizes throughout the country. Equipped with the most modern technology and advanced tools, Quintel provides top-notch service. When you trust Quintel for all your needs, you'll get peace of mind and a finished job that exceeds your expectations. For more info about Quintel and the services they provide, visit quintel-inc.com.
When life takes you places and you can't get to the store, shop online with Strack and Van Til To Go. Our to-go service is easy to use, and it can save you time and money. Once your order is in, our own Strack and Van Til team preps your order with care. For delivery or pickup, enjoy the convenience of letting our to-go team shop for you. Enjoy special moments. Sign up online today at shop.strackandvantil.com.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. I'll cover your motorcycle. I'll be with you on the water. I'll be with you on the snow. I'll cover your insurance needs wherever you go. I'll be at Crowell Agency from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Companies, the insurance professionals in Highland, Maryville, and Michigan City.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
Back here on the Quintel Kickoff Show in our Centier Bank Studios, getting you set for kickoff. As the first game, we'll be talking about the Class 5A semi-state matchup between Maryville and Fort Wayne Snyder is almost about to start. It's got a 6:30 kickoff at Central Time, but we'll be live from Spieler Stadium at about 6 p.m. Central Time, and that's coming up in a little bit. But this is going to be a great matchup. Two teams who do have some history with one another. Both have times they've faced each other or in semi-state. Now, Fort Wayne Snyder has got the best of Maryville both times. That goes all the way back to 2012, where they won 42-39. Now, Mike Dewani pulled out a pretty interesting nugget. Now, probably Pirates fans don't want to hear it, but it's still the truth that they've lost their last 7 semi-state appearances. Still trying to get over that hump. It's been a really hard for them to do that. You know, sometimes teams just struggle in that atmosphere, but Brad Cease, he's got a different team, I feel like, than years past. I feel like this team's got more mojo. They've kind of got a little bit more of aggressiveness to them, and it starts with that defense. Obviously, got Terrell Elmore. He has been one of the best in the area. Of course, you have Jalen Ramsey, a secondary who's been being proven more as the year goes on. Of course, Trey Stevens. I mean, the play he made last week against Valpo can only speak measures of how much that helps them get to this spot, because if he doesn't have that agility, that quickness to get to that spot where the ball was thrown, we might be talking about the Vikings, the Pirates. But nevertheless, Pirates are here. They're going to face a really good Fort Wayne Snyder team. And these are two teams that really match up pretty evenly, as if I've ever seen a matchup. Both teams can score the ball a lot, and both teams have great defenses. Both teams have dual threat quarterbacks that like to run the ball a lot. Both teams have running backs who can really pound the rock. That was one of the matchups where I think it's going to go like Maryville and Valpo we talked about. You know, teams are very similar with how they play the game of football. They run first. They can throw the ball if they need to, but they're going to run the ball.
Right.
Their defense can make stops when they need to and are pretty clutch in those types of situations. And I see that type of matchup being the case here. I mean, you go back to Fort Wayne Snyder, 19-18. They beat a very good Mishawaka team. It was on a last-second field goal. And they held that Mishawaka team to only 120 rushing yards when they came into that game averaging 292 rushing yards.
Very impressive work.
So you have two really defensive teams that are just really good, because you have a Maryville team, maybe they don't cause the most turnovers, but they don't break. They may bend a little bit, but they don't break. Fort Wayne Snyder, on the other end, they force a lot of turnovers. They have forced 31 turnovers this year total. So that's a defense that is going to make you stress a little bit. They're going to cause some havoc, be a little aggressive on those plays. You have a Maryville team who, look, you may be able to drive a couple of yards, maybe a couple times on them, but they're a team that really doesn't allow you in that end zone. Like I said, you might get to that 40-yard line, maybe 50, 30. You know, Valpo kicked a couple of field goals last week, but they don't really allow you in that end zone. I think this is going to really go into a defensive battle. I don't think this is going to be a 35-30 game. I could really see this being like a 21-20 game.
Yeah.
I see defense being the reason why one of these teams wins, just because that's how both of the teams have gotten here to this point. Nevertheless, I think the home field advantage is going to come true into effect, just because Maryville has to travel all the way to Fort Wayne Snyder at Spieler Stadium. About 2 hours and 45-minute drive, but with traffic and you're on a bus, that could extend all the way up to 3 hours. So
it's not easy.
It's going to be really the whole day for the Pirates is just one quick turnaround, because you got class probably today for a little bit.
Yeah.
Then you got to get all your football gear. Probably got to get some food in you, obviously. You got to get on the bus. And then, boom, you get off the bus. It's almost an hour and a half till kickoff. You got to race to the locker room, get your stuff on, get your gear on. You know, it's going to happen in the blink of an eye for these Pirates, just because of how much they have to go through to get to Fort Wayne. And on the other hand, you have Fort Wayne, who they're just chilling. You know, they're just sitting there.
It's true, man.
You know, it's going to be a
tough.
Great game, though. We talk about home field advantage obviously being a true thing, and well, Crown Point kind of proved that theory wrong, just because they had a little bit of a wrong bus ride. They went all the way to Penn and won. And for Maryville, road has not been their favorite thing, just because all 2 of their losses have been on the road at Valpo in the regular season and at Crown Point, Fort Wayne Snyder. They have only 1 loss on the year, but still, great game on hand. 2 teams that you're going to see run the ball a lot, but some great – I think the defense is what I'm really looking forward to in this matchup.
Yeah, again, that's why they're here. Defense, I mean, the fantastic talent on the defensive units for both squads. Of course, that rushing number from Mishawaka is a very eye-popping snap from Snyder, and that arguably won them the game alongside the Meng Tung game-winning field goal. And Maryville, of course, where we talk about the talent they have, Terrell Elmore, Roshan McGee, a couple other guys, a couple other dogs on that defense. And yeah, I mean, it's what it's going to come down to. I think in terms of a back-and-forth game, I really think this is going to be like a Crown Point Penn, maybe not much as much scoring as what we saw. And in that game, it was a lot of kind of long plays. But both these defenses, I mean, they could stand their own at the goal line, and they don't want you to score, and they'll force, they'll turn those touchdowns into field goals. And any point goes a long way, as we see in these last few games. Snyder 1-by-1, Maryville 1-by-4. Points are tough to come by in this cold weather, and especially on these defenses, and they're going to do whatever they can to kind of limit those touchdowns. And someone's got to make a play. It's really we got two defenses that are ball hawks. They could force some turnovers and kind of swing the game in their favor. And for Maryville, again, you can't start out flat. It's a long day. Classes don't help. Me personally, I wouldn't be paying attention much in classes. I'd only be worrying about the kickoff later and the long bus ride. But you have to start out. You have to start out hot if you're Maryville, and that's what Crown Point did in that game against Penn. And Maryville has to do the same.
On the Indiana Preps Twitter page for football, they had ranked the top 10 offensive and defensive players all in the games today. Brandon Logan for Fort Wayne Snyder, the junior free safety, and Terrell Elmore, one of the linebackers.
I mean, 2 game records, man.
They are both on the top 10 defensive players to watch for tonight.
I mean, Elmore, Eastern Michigan commit. He'll set you behind the chains pretty quickly. And Brandon Logan, again, 5 picks, 3 defensive touchdowns this year. I mean, those are guys that could ruin drives and ultimately make the plays tonight to get the guys to Lucas Oil. Yeah. So.
It's our first game night built by Vontal. Reminder, audio only, but it'll be available on our Facebook and YouTube page. We'll be live on site at about 6 p.m. Kickoff is scheduled for 6:30 p.m. Central Time for Maryville at Fort Wayne Snyder. We're going to take a break here in the Quintel Kickoff. So when we come back, we'll talk about our second game night built by Von Tobel, which is Westfield at Crown Point, as you're watching us on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Have you checked out Center Bank's student checking account? This no-fee checking account is perfect for students and teens ages 14 to 24 and comes with all the features you need to succeed, such as a debit card, digital banking, and automatic deposit. Center Bank can help you start establishing good spending habits today for your better tomorrow. For more information, visit Centier.com/student-checking or visit your local branch. If you are under the age of 18, your parent or guardian must also sign on the Centier student checking account. At the age of 25, your account will automatically convert to the Centier checking account. You must deposit $25 to open this account. This account is not eligible for overdraft advantage. Member FDIC.
With electrical services from Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, you can radiate the perfect amount of light and energy into your home. From rewiring and code upgrades to ceiling fans, lighting, security, and more, Economy Electric Heating and Cooling's trained electricians will make sure you can enjoy your home on full power all the time. For a free estimate on electrical work, call Economy Electric Heating and Cooling at 219-923-4441, and you can visit them on the web at 4ajobdoneright.com. That's the number 4ajobdoneright.com.
Develop skills that will last for a lifetime with an apprenticeship with the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers Local 4, Indiana, Kentucky. The apprenticeship and training program is committed to developing highly skilled bricklayers, terrazzo workers, and ceramic tile setters to provide the construction industry with the best hands in the business. If you are currently working non-union and want better pay with benefits, or if you think learning a new skill with a paid apprenticeship while you earn your associate's degree is the right path for you, visit baclocal4.org/training to learn more about the apprenticeship program. Are you built to succeed?
For over 100 years, Burns Funeral Home and Crematory has been assisting families in their time of need. Serving Northwest Indiana, the staff at Burns Funeral Home will help guide your family in creating a meaningful ceremony. From a simple to elaborate, to traditional or unique, the caring family at Burns Funeral Home will tailor a ceremony to fit your needs. And for your other loved ones, Burns Funeral now has a pet cemetery and crematory. Visit burnsfuneral.com or give them a call at 219-942-1117.
Back here on the Quintel Kickoff Show in our RSN Bank studios. If you're just joining us, Jack Thiel, Mike Dewan besides me, Zach Nelly producing today's show. We talked about some of the games that we'll be showing you on our hometown scoreboard, courtesy of our friends from Strachan Manitoba, which you can view on our Facebook and YouTube page. And we talked about our first game night built by Von Tobel, which you as well can view on our Facebook and YouTube page, Maryville at Fort Wayne Snyder. Now time to talk about our second game night built by Von Tobel. We'll move up to the Class 6A, Westfield all the way at Crown Point. The Dog Pound 7 o'clock kickoff will be live on site at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And this is another great game. Jake Gilbert, the head coach of Westfield, he's had a lot of success with the Shamrocks. He's made state 3 times in the last 7 years. He's 1-2, though, in those trips. Nevertheless, he's been a really great coach for these Shamrocks. And, we talk about some of these teams maybe not being able to get over that semi-state hump. Well, he's been able to. Over those 3 trips to the state finals. For the Crown Point Bulldogs, they got their first regional win since 1988. And for the first time ever in their football school history, I think since 1901 is when they started, they'll host a semi-state game. First time ever. It's going to be in Crown Point, Indiana. And I'll just say this, the community support has been off the charts. And it has started since they beat Penn last week. They had a bunch of fans come out to the square in downtown Crown Point on their bus ride home and cheer them on. And throughout the week, they've had so many people pitch in, cook them meals. I know the 1988 regional team that won has been there showing their support. I believe they cooked them some hot dogs and burgers. Yeah. But over the week, a lot of businesses and a lot of people from Crown Point have been pitching in and showing their support. They got brand new shirts as well. I don't know if you saw those on the Twitter page. They have shirts. They've got everything. Everything is going well for the Crown Point Bulldogs. And what makes it even better for them is, like we said, they got a home game. They're opening the gates early. They have extra parking lots for this game. Everything, it's like the Super Bowl right now at Crown Point, Indiana. But you can't sleep on this Westfield team. They defeated a good Hamilton Southeastern team, 24-21. They are 7-0 on the road. And you're going to have to watch out for the running back, Kendall Garnett III, coming off his best performance of the year, 35 carries, 223 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And that's his best performance just because that accounts for a lot of his yards. Not Definitely. A lot, but majority of the yards.
About a fourth of his season yards and a third of his total touchdowns. So it's good they found that run game for sure.
Absolutely. A breakout performance for the young kid. But overall, they're 16-2 in their last 18 games. This year, they do have 5 one-possession games. So they've been in a lot of close matchups. Overall, Jackson Gilbert, though, he's been a great quarterback. Over 2,000 passing yards, 29 total touchdowns. Look out for Micah Webster, this Class 6A leading tackler at 137 tackles on the year, 9.5 for loss and 2 sacks. Also Sam Bola, 8.5 tackles for loss and 6.5 sacks. They're 2-0 against region teams in their history. Both of those wins coming against Maryville. So they've had success against those 2-1-9 teams. But the Crown Point Bulldogs, man, There's some different in that water in Crown Point, Indiana.
Dog water, yeah.
A
doggy bowl.
There's something different in that dog water for sure. 12-0. It's been all bark and all bite for this Bulldog team. They blocked the PAT against Penn and helped them eventually get that 1-point win. And Larry Ellison was huge for the team. He really took over in the second half. He was almost quarterback. You could say a lot of wildcat formations for the Bulldogs, and he was really like I said, he was really the quarterback.
Really the lead dog, you'd say.
Noah Ehrlich usually is the guy under center, but it was Ellison. He was the guy taking the snaps, direct snap right to him, and I was able to catch some of the end of that game. I know you were there, but look, he wasn't breaking out for 30-yard, 40-yard runs, but at the end of the day, he was getting 4, 5, 6. He was getting chunks and chunks, and that adds up.
And it's a tough Penn defense to do it against. And again, that's a guy you don't want to tackle. Kind of what I mentioned in our episode last night. He's up there with Caden Verrett in terms of broken tackles and just guys that are always bouncing off of tackles. And arm tackles, they don't do it against Larry Ellison. You got to wrap him up and take him down. So,
but we know the Bulldogs. They're undefeated at home this year. and they're 11-1 at home in their last 12 games. They have just been a different team when it comes to being at home. And why we say that? Well, they've played 7 games at home this year. Their defense has only given up 44 points total. That's a 6.2 average. And you and I discussed this last night on Region Football Weekly, how most of those games, the first team defense didn't play the full game. And, you know, some teams were able to get kind of those last-second touchdowns. That hurts that total a little bit. But nevertheless, I mean, 6.2 points per game they're only giving up at home. That starts with Nate Kalk, Seamus Molaski, and Will Clark. Those 3 guys have been huge on the defense. And there's so many more guys on that Bulldog defense who have been crucial. But those 3 guys have really been the ones to highlight. And you go to the offense, the junior quarterback. I mean, Crown Point, how happy are you get this guy for another year? Noah Ehrlich, 32 total touchdowns, only 5 picks. And then Larry Ellison, 1,600 rushing yards, 26 touchdowns. And you can't forget about Landon Delich. I mean, the 6'4 senior receiver is huge, and he can go up and get the football whenever he wants. 634 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. A great game. I mean, if one thing is going to give Westfield the advantage, I would say they're more battle-tested in the way of opponent's record. 71-59 is their opponent's record. For Crown Point, 58-61. Now, look, Crown Point kind of shushed those, you know, that hypothetical, what happens when they play a good team on the road. When they beat Penn, they proved themselves. You know, we said, can they make that stop when they need to? Can they beat the team in a close game? And they did. They went to Penn and they won, and that's a very impressive win. And that makes Crown Point even more impressive. At the same time, Westfield, on the other hand, like we said, they're 7-0 on the road. That's very impressive to be undefeated on the road. And for them to also play opponents that are 71-59, that also is going to help you. 5 one-possession wins as well. So when you get into that, you know, late game, stressful situations, you know, it's probably not as stressful for them because they've had to do it a couple of times, including last week against Hamilton Southeastern, or they won 24-21. But like we keep honing on this year, this is a different Crown Point team than we've ever seen. You know, we always talk about the teams in Indy. You know, we go near South Bend, Fort Wayne. But, hey, it's time to put your radar on Crown Point, Indiana, because those dogs are fighting. And this is a team that is built for something special. And it starts tonight with their first ever semi-state game at home.
Yeah, there's no place like home, as Dorothy from Wizard of Oz would say. It's it's a great reward for Crown Point to be at home after a fantastic win against Penn. And I'd even say they're a better team at home. You talked about how dominant they are. 44 points given up in 7 games. That number could be honestly like 30. Yeah. Again, talking about what the points they gave up in the type of games that they were in. They're a fantastic team.
Most 14, Valpo.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to pack the house. Again, the community is all behind them, and the square is going to be buzzing if they get the win here tonight, man. It's going to be even more packed than what we saw last week and when they're coming home against Penn. But yeah, Crown Point, again, they showed they could make the plays. Westfield, of course, they obviously got some playmakers too. It's not by chance they have 5 one-possession wins. It's you have those plays that, again, let you spring out in front and close out games like that. And Crown Point, they showed they could do that last week. And, again, that's why these 2 teams are here. But for CP, it's – you know, we always talk about the names, but Nick Soley as well is a guy who had a great game last week. Jacob Jones is a fantastic receiver who also plays DB, but he has some fantastic speed. He had a huge play against Penn last week, and yeah, man, it doesn't get much better than this. The big dogs literally here in the 6A class, and I mean we're expecting a good one here at the Dog Pound, man.
What are you looking forward to in this matchup? Because it's 2 teams who kind of have different, I would say, histories. Just because Westfield they've been in this position a lot. You know, kind of them making semi-state might be the norm for them because they've made it to state 3 times in the last 7 years. For Crown Point, you know, this is kind of new territory. Like we said, they haven't been to semi-state since 1988. So you have 2 teams who are, you know, have had different histories in terms of, you know, in the past, but obviously we focus on the present and now. Right. What are you looking forward in this matchup between the Shamrocks and the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of kind of player matchups at first. I want to kind of highlight the 2 fantastic linebackers, you know, in the 6A class. Micah Webster, the 6A leading tackler. That's a fantastic thing to put on your resume. Then Will Clark, of course. He's one of the more impressive guys I've had to watch. I mean, he flies around the field, and I'm excited to see some fantastic linebacker play. And then for Westfield, going with them and their offense, I think they're going to have to score points against this defense. I think the Crown Point offense is very solid, and I think that they kind of have that advantage against a Westfield defense. But Westfield, yeah, I'm interested to see how they, again, after a fantastic running game last week where the passing game wasn't doing too much on the arm of Jackson Gilbert, it's interesting to see how they're going to balance it out this week. Are they going to kind of ride Kendall Garnett a little bit more this week? Again, 35 carries last week, 3 touchdowns, 223 yards. Or are they going to try and kind of get the ball to their receivers and Max Nosler and Gabriel Arambulis? We'll see, but I think Westfield, for what I want to see from them, they're going to have to balance it out. They can't be one-dimensional against a fantastic Crown Point defense.
Well, you were at that Crown Point and Penn game. How did Penn, score as much as they did? Because no one has scored that much against Crown Point. How were they able to balance it, or was it kind of one-dimensional? How are they able to score that many points against, like we say, a great defensive team?
For sure, yeah. I brought that up a little bit yesterday, but I mean, Noel McCullough, they're Penn's quarterback. I mean, they respected him as a runner, and they have a fantastic run game. But he had 4 passing touchdowns, and a lot of them were pretty deep down the field. It wasn't anything dink and dunk. It was some pretty nice throws from McCullough. So we got to expect good quarterback play from Westfield. But they have to establish a run game to keep those Crown Point DBs honest.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be interesting to see. Reminder, it's our second game night built by Von Tobel. We'll be live on site at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. You can listen to it on Facebook and YouTube. Reminder, both of our game nights built by Von Tobel, audio only, but they'll be available for free on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Remember, Maryville will be at Fort Wayne Snyder. Kickoff at 6:30 will be live from Spoiler Stadium at 6 p.m. Central Time. And then, of course, Crown Point, Westfield will be live from the Dog Pound at 6:30. Kickoff is at 7. Of course, follow our hometown scoreboard. Courage to our friends from Strack and Van Til, as we'll be updating those scores. Our man Skibbs will be on the job, doing a great job like he always does. He'll be updating those scores as fast as he can. And reminder, here's the games that you can view on that hometown scoreboard. Courage to our friends from Strack and Van Til. We'll go from Class 6A to 1A. It'll be Westfield, Crown Point, Center Grove and Ben Davis, Maryville and Fort Wayne Snyder, Bloomington South and Decatur Central, East Central and New Palestine. You flip the page, and then you got Northwood Panthers at Leo. You got Gibson Southern and Heritage Hills, Knox Redskins and Indy Bishop Tatard. You got Lafayette Central and Fort Wayne Bishop. You got Southmont Mounties and North Posey Vikings. Reminder, that game is on Saturday. You got the Indy Lutheran Saints and the Sheridan Blackhawks, and the North Judson Blue Jays and the Adams Central Flying Jets. I'll be on our hometown scoreboard, courtesy of our friends from Strack and Van Til. I'll be all night, Facebook and YouTube, and tomorrow morning as well. So if you're wondering what are those other scores, stay on our pages, as we'll have that scoreboard for you throughout the night and tomorrow morning. But as we look at the time, we're getting ready for kickoff. We're about to be at 6 p.m. Central Time, which means we'll be live from Spoiler Stadium, where the Maryville Pirates will have a chance to go to state. And, of course, 6:30 will be live from the Dog Pound, as Crown Point will have an opportunity to go to state. Any final words, Mike, before we get to semi-state action?
Let's punch some tickets today, Lucas. So, man, that's a fun little place to play a game, and let's do it, man. Let's make some history tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. A big thank you to everybody watching tonight's show. Please stay tuned for our games. They're going to be good ones, but we got Zach Snelly producing today's show. A big thank you to him, our executive producer, Chris Ramirez, our operations manager, Rich Castillo, and our coordinating producer, Zach Miller. Stay tuned for our wrap-up show, which will take place tonight about 10:30. We'll get you caught up on all the scores and kind of preview the matchups that you may be seeing at Lucas Oil Stadium next week. But that's going to do it for us from here. Go watch some great football, and we'll see you later as you're watching us on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.